court is going to sentence you to life.
You know, it wasn't fair to his family for him to have an affair. It wasn't fair to me. I don't even know anymore what is real and what is not.
In this video, I'll continue analyzing one of Nichol Kessinger's 2018 interviews, using statement analysis as my primary method. This method is a tool for deception detection, and as we will see, Nichol makes statements that I think call for re-evaluation of some of her explanations. My primary focus is Nichol's equivocating and indirect language. Before we go forward, a quick thank you to all of you who subscribe to my channel. I'm happy to see that my interest in forensic linguistics is shared by all of you. If you're new here, welcome on board. Check my videos and playlists for more analysis of the people involved in the Watts case and in other cases.
Did your friends know about him?
Nope.
Why?
Because it's like he's with 2 women right now. They don't need to know about
So
that.
Her statement shows us that she's aware that Chris was with the 2 at the same time. And not just aware, her tone indicates that this answer is obvious. Previously, Nichols emphasized that she thought Chris was about to get a divorce, which she states as the reason why she was with him.
He lied to me. It just hurt. Like, I had never felt like he'd ever lied to me before. And it was a big lie. I mean, telling somebody that you're in the midst of a divorce and then you have a wife that has a 15-week-old baby on the way is a huge thing. And I was very taken back, and it was hurt.
Nichol should have been questioned in more detail about this possible discrepancy, because in her language, Shanann's still very much in the picture at this point.
But this one you were a little bit more, you said he's with 2 women. Was that one of your considerations for not telling anybody about him?
Yes, well, I mean, it was like, okay, like this, to me it wasn't going to be an extended thing. Like, if it got to the point where we were like dating for like 3 or 4 months and he's still talking about, oh, I'm going to move out and I'm going to sell the house, I think at that point I probably would have just been like, I don't think you're really like doing these things you say you're going to do, and I probably would have just like left, because at that point it's not fair.
Notice the mismatch between question and answer. Nichol was asked in past tense about a particular reason for not telling anybody about Chris. She starts with agreeing, but then modifies her response with the hedge "I mean" that signals probability, not certainty. She continues weakening her assessment with the following conditional clause, suggesting something hypothetical. This weakening of her statement continues with the hedges "I think" and "probably," which is repeated twice before the modal verb "would have." At that point, linguistically moves the goalpost, underlining the hypothetical nature of her statement. These weak modifiers and expressions of uncertainty are known as equivocation. Equivocation is a way for the subject to avoid the question, and it's non-committal, meaning it allows the subject to modify the statement later on without directly contradicting the original statement. Nichol's and Chris Watts' overuse of "like" is also in this category. Notice Nichol's fictional dialogue. These aren't real quotes, but imagined quotes. Nichol's excessive use of this kind of vivid language shows us that she's aware of what she should have said to Chris according to societal norms. But let's not forget that she didn't. It's a linguistic self-defense mechanism. However, as we've just seen, she even makes this mechanism unsure by her equivocating language. Indirectly, she's admitting how much she did and would have let Chris get away with. Obviously, he meant and still means a lot to her.
It wasn't fair to me in the first place. It wasn't fair to her in the first place. It wasn't fair to any of us in the first place. You know, it wasn't fair to his family for him to have an affair. It wasn't fair to me to have him lie to me and make me think that everything is going to plan. And still to this day, I don't even know what's a lie and what's not. I don't even know if they were like filing for divorce. I don't know if they were putting the house up. I don't even know anymore what is real and what is not.
Shannann's referred to as her. This type of distance taking typically suggests that the subject deep down has some level of guilt and or know that they have a prominent role in the case. Either way, Nichol's showing us that mentioning Shannann's name is too personal for her. Notice how she aligns with Shanann with the word fair, as if the level of unfairness was the same for the both of them. Any of us is association. Here, Nichol goes from singular descriptions to collective ones. By portraying herself as a victim, she acquits herself of blame and responsibility. You know indicates that Nichole's acutely aware of the interviewer at this particular point. Typically, the reason for this is persuasion, that it's critical that the agents understand this. 4 times she repeats what she allegedly doesn't know. In general, truthful people will tell us what they do know, what they have seen, etc. So answering in the negative is sensitive. It shows us that certain words, certain actions have entered the subject's mind before they preface them with a negation. Nichole's protecting herself, much like we saw with her equivocating language, just in a more extreme way, protecting herself from further questions and further responsibility.
What I do know is it's just like, that wasn't fair to me either, because if I'd have known, not even all the truth, but like obviously some of it, I wouldn't have even engaged in any of this in the first place. And it just, and that's the part for me, just like on my personal level, outside of everything that is happening, that is gonna affect me long term. It's like, I'm gonna wake up every day and know that like this mom and her unborn child and these 2 little girls are not around anymore, and it breaks my heart. It is so, oh my God. And then I have to think about like the consequences of his actions and how they affect everybody else. Like,
syntactically, Nichol reveals that her primary concern is herself. She started with mentioning how it wasn't fair to her, then Shanann, and now she's back to herself. She's directing our attention to what's convenient for her to in fact know and talk about. Notice the verb engaged. To engage in something presupposes that there's something to participate in the first place. She doesn't say started or another verb that indicates that she helped bring the situation about. Any of this is unspecified. She avoids saying affair or another specific word, and she's again distancing herself from her personal decisions. Is again used to convey the information that's most important for Nichol to get across. She says she's going to wake up knowing that Shanann and the girls are not around anymore. For a brief moment, this could sound like guilt. However, this is negated when she points to Chris, his actions, and how they affect everybody else. But she doesn't say Shanann, she says this mom, which is distancing language that could apply to strangers. In the following, Nichole's self-focus is even more evident.
All of her family's impacted. My name is about to be like slandered for probably a while. I don't know how long it's going to take to heal, but I would not be surprised if it's going to be hard to go out in public sometimes for a couple of years. And that really hurts me. I'm just like, this is a horrible, horrible thing. Like, how dare you, and people aren't going to understand that. They're going to say, oh, you're the woman that had an affair with this man who took out his whole family. And I take a step back and it's just like, I didn't know. Like, he's so disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him and everything. And I just, oh, those little girls. They're so little. They're so little.
2 things. First, even when she brings herself to use the word ashamed, she doesn't mention herself. She's taking on the role of the general public by portraying Chris as disgusting. It's conceivable that Nichole's projecting the words that characterize her own actions onto Chris. No matter what, she keeps fleeing from personal responsibility. And she says all this unprovoked, which doubles the sensitivity of her statements. Also previously in this video and in my other videos, we've observed that Chris still means something to her. Several times she's even taken his side.
And I knew that those 2 had been through some financial trouble. I definitely found out a lot more about that situation in the newspaper recently. He told me, he's like, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that.
So does she really find Chris disgusting? In some respects, probably yes, but not exclusively, and that's the point. Second, she uses dramatization to counter possible objections. The agent asked a short question, and Nichole's overexpanded answer doesn't correspond to it. It's not because Nichol provides a lot of detail, she just provides a lot of hypotheticals that are masked as details. This results in a lot of red herrings, confusion for the agents. Nichol cries for a short while.
It's so sad, and she's pregnant.
And you know, on
Then she continues making excuses for herself.
Let's get to the phone call on Saturday from 9 to 11. What did you guys, or pardon me, on Sunday from 9 to 11?
Yeah, we talked a few times. So, Sunday,
Okay.
I think so. I need to think. I can't even think.
Take a couple breaths and take a second.
Sunday night. I don't even know. I don't think I was concerned about anything at that point.
Nichole's equivocating. She gives herself leeway to modify her statements at a later point in case she suddenly does remember something she was concerned about.
You guys had had a meal, a nice meal the night before. You knew his wife was probably coming home late that evening.
Oh, you know what? I still don't remember what we talked about. Honestly, we talk about so much random stuff. It's so hard to pinpoint some of these things. I don't remember what we talked about. I do remember that was a long phone conversation, though. We probably talked about all sorts of stuff.
She's answering the question with a question. She's already tried to avoid the question, and now she's trying to avoid it again through this common deceptive method. Her acute awareness of the agent also underlines that what she's doing here is entirely intentional. Honestly is unnecessary language. Unnecessary language is not deceptive in and of itself, but given the context with Nichole's evasive answers and equivocating language, we should be aware of it as a persuasive linguistic element that makes her sound less truthful and more deliberate. Also, the use of honestly should make us ask, why the use of it now? Is it because the subject hasn't been truthful or entirely truthful up until now? Notice her way of phrasing it. It's so hard to pinpoint some of these things. First, there's a lack of self-reference, which would have made her answer more direct. She doesn't use I, but it, as if pinpointing these things is more or less objectively hard. Second, some of is restricted language, again giving her a chance to remember the things that are convenient for her and to leave out the rest. Her final statement indicates deception, a way of buying time. She says probably, which typically suggests that the subject will now provide details. However, Nichole just ends up saying all sorts of stuff, which is obvious and void of specifics. She continues restricting her memory to one thing. This way she can keep bringing up singular memories that fit her narrative. Restriction is a useful method for Nichole, and she uses it whenever it's convenient. Keep in mind that previously in this interview, Nichole's been very detailed about specific conversations she's had with Chris.
And I remember talking to him about it, and that was the first time that I tried to actually say, what do you think about not separating from your wife? What if you really try to work on this? And he had expressed to me that we've tried to work on this and it's not working, so that is why we're separating. I'm engaging in a relationship with a man who, the way he described it, is in a contractual agreement, but was not in an emotional relationship with somebody.
In the following, notice that Nichole does remember specific thoughts.
One thing I do remember though, that I didn't remember earlier when I was talking to Mark. So this is where I'm starting to remember little bits and pieces. I don't remember. Yeah, I know. So the phone conversation, I don't remember what was in the phone conversation. Probably nothing of relevance, to be honest with you. But usually he talks to me when he's down in the basement in his bed before he goes to bed and before I go to bed. And I could hear the TV on, which I thought was kind of weird. I didn't ask him. I just heard it in the background. And I remember thinking, and it was right before we got off the phone, I was like, why the hell is he up? And there's no TV downstairs. So I was like, well, maybe
Again, she's using unnecessary language that weakens the truthfulness of her statement. Usually implies that there were times that deviated from the conduct she's describing. This points to withheld information, whatever it may be. Notice the verb tense. Talks and goes are both present tense before she shifts to past tense. Deceptive people sometimes refer to past events as if they were occurring in the present. Describing past events using the present tense suggests that people are rehearsing the events in their mind. Nichole's many words and narratives could be looked at as red herrings, intended to create confusion about what actually happened. In the following, notice all the self-protective statements Nichole makes sure to mention, even though she's asked a short and specific question.
I don't know.
No TV in the basement where he usually calls you from.
Yeah, and I don't know how many TVs they have. I've never been in their bedroom. I went upstairs once and it was like to their little playroom and I just like looked at it and I was like, that's super cute that your girls have books, and that was like it. And other than that, I have never been in any of those rooms in that upstairs. Like, to me, it was just like, you don't know, like, ever. I had no, so I don't know if he has any other TVs. I'm assuming by like how much other nice stuff they have in their house, it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm not quite sure what room he was in at that point. But I just remember hearing the TV and I was like, it was just weird to me because I was like, why are you watching TV right now? It is like super late. And that was the only thing.
She wasn't asked about Chris and Shanann's bedroom, but still she says she went upstairs once, obviously emphasizing the lack of time spent in the Watts house is sensitive to her. Indirectly, she shows us that she allegedly had certain moral concerns, and she rules out that she was in any way involved in the crime. When a subject mentions the exact number of times they did a particular thing, it's noted for possible deception. It has a self-serving purpose and suggests that the subject did that particular thing more times, hence the need for restrictive language. Nichol directs our attention back to what she wants to focus on, the sound of the TV. Obviously, the preceding self-protective statements have a higher priority for her. That's it for now. Once again, thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.